So your job is going to be to create a little wildflower patch for pollinators and bees and butterflies. And I'm going to be doing the same where I live. There's lots and lots and lots of grass here. I'm going to be digging up as much as I possibly can until the end of February. Now this is actually outside my house because my mum has got a lovely garden already and I don't want to disturb it. So there's lots of grass outside the house, which could be the same for you. And I'm sure the council won't mind if you start digging a patch as long as you take care of it. Decide where you're going to dig. It could be a small patch, it could be just 1 meter by 1 meter, and I'll show you step by step what you have to do to take care of it. So I want to show you the end point first, what it would look like at the end, by talking about a previous project I was involved in and ran in the last lockdown in last year. So in the first lockdown last year, I basically dug up all the grass here. I had sown the seeds in little paper pots, which I'll show you how to do, and I also put them directly in the ground. And very quickly they started growing. And there's lots of wonderful colours and different types of flowers. The main two types were sunflowers and cosmos, and then a smattering of lots of other different bits. But the interesting thing was it attracted a lot of attention. People would walk by there every day and take pictures, and it really improved well-being, as well as actually providing a lot of resource for insects and birds. So even if you do a little 1 by 1 meter patch in your garden, it's it's a start. And if everyone did that, it would make a huge, big difference. So the first thing I would do is look at an area of your garden, or perhaps it's just outside the boundaries of your property, and get permission if you're doing this from your parents or from your neighbors to make sure everyone's okay with it, and then literally just mark out the space that you want to create that little wildflower patch in. And it could be a really small area. It doesn't have to be huge, but as I said, if everyone does a little bit, it'll have a huge impact. So if you're digging up a sod of grass, you can just get a spade and mark out the area that you want to dig up. You might want to keep it small to begin with, so that when you pick it up, there's not going to be too much weight on it. And once you've marked it out, you can slip the spade underneath the sod and slide it in like that to loosen it up a little bit. And then you can either turn it over with your hands or turn it over with a fork. And what I do is I loosen up all of the clay. There's actually got a lot of worms in this. Now it's actually quite wet, so this is a little bit harder to do. But if you loosen up the clay, you can scrape it off there. And you're keeping some of that soil, because actually that's quite good soil, and you want to keep as much of it as you possibly can. And then you can take your sod and you can put it on your compost heap now, or you can place it in another area of the garden. And what you can do is make sure that the grass is facing down, so that it's out of the direct sunlight, and that grass will rot down. And then you can take the next sod and put it on top of that and make a little pile. And if you cover it over with either cardboard, if you want to be sustainable, or black plastic, then that will keep the light away from it, and nothing will grow on it, and eventually it'll rot down and you can use that in the garden again. So you can start growing your own wildflowers. I can drop some seed into school for you to collect, but you're going to have to start making these paper pots first to put them in. And these paper pots are really handy because you can actually you can plant them directly into the soil. You can see the roots here coming out the sides because the paper starts to disintegrate. And I've got loads and loads of wildflowers here. And I've got some more over here. These are coal frames that I made to protect them from the frost. But some of these wildflowers actually they're not bothered by the frost. They're quite hardy. Okay, guys. So you have got two tasks for this week. One is to find your little patch of ground that you're going to make into a wildflower patch, and make sure you've got the okay for doing that. And the second thing is to make these paper pots. So I'm going to show you how to do that. They're very, very handy. I want you to make 20 of these for a 1 by 1 meter patch. If you can't find your little patch, or you haven't decided on where you're going to have that patch, don't worry about it, just make the pots, because even you can either plant when we sow seeds in them, eventually you can plant them out in your own garden, or you can bring them into school and plant them in the space that we have in school. When you're making your paper pots, you can divide your newspaper into 4 or 5 sections, depends on how big you want your paper pots to be. And then you maybe shorten the paper when you cut it. So you mightn't use the full length, maybe cut a little bit off. And then you take 2 pieces of paper and you overlap them like this. And then you fold one down over the other. And then you get maybe a curry jar or a bottle of soy sauce or something like that, and then you wrap them around, wrap the paper around the bottle of the curry pot, and then you leave a little bit of excess paper on like that. Shimmy the paper up the jar slightly and fold the paper back on itself like this. And then shimmy the paper up a little bit more. Put all the paper on the inside, shimmy it up a little bit more, and use a pepper pot to just make it a little indent. Slide your pot off, and that's your paper.